physically. So what Swami said at the birthday had to be practiced. I didn't know what he meant, but as soon as I got home, I realized that I had to do all of the things he used to do. And it was the tax season coming up, and I hadn't a clue. I had no idea in the wide world how on earth I was going to figure out how much I owed the government. And I'm getting to this for a very good reason. Because many, many people try to cheat. They think, oh, the government takes too much. So I'm not going to mention this check that I received or that work that I did. And here was I suddenly left with all of these problems. But whatever you're doing, you've got to practice what Baba teaches. So if it's the tax season, if you have to figure out what you've earned and what you owe, you have to be particularly careful to be truthful. And that's a big challenge for most people. And a lot of people have said to me, but what about all the graft, Phyllis? Well, that's not our problem. We cannot tell anyone else what to do. We can only demonstrate by our own lives that being honest, being loving, living our lives dharmically works. And we're only responsible for our own journey, our own inner journey, which of course isn't really a journey at all. It's just trying to remember who we really are. We're not responsible for anyone else. We're only responsible for our own behavior, our own honesty, wherever we are. So if you're a doctor, that's where you have to put Swami's teachings into practice. If you're a professor, if you're a teacher, if you're a businessman, that's where you have to show by your life, not by saying a single word, not by telling everybody that you go to India and that you see Swami. No, you may have a chance to do that occasionally when people are interested enough to ask. I'm always amused. I have a very large picture of Swami in my room, which was given to me in a very interesting way when I was in India. I wanted it so badly, and it was being put into our room just before Shivaratri, and we were leaving. And so I went to the bookstore and I said, I love this picture of Swami on the calendar. Can I buy one? And the man I was talking to said, no, Swami has given just enough for the rooms. And I said, okay, that's all right. And then just as we were hurrying to our car, a young college boy came dashing after us with 2 rolls. One for Sydney and me, and one for the man who was traveling with us, who also would have liked one of those photographs. And it was the photograph. If we say it's all right, we don't have to have it. Then, sometimes he sees fit to give it to us. But if we're grabbing it, then it doesn't work. I was given a very interesting insight one time, which I call the black and white birds. And I had been asked by my daughter to help her with a problem. And I found that I was imagining that I was on a tightrope, walking one step after the other. And believe me, I could never balance on a regular tightrope. But this was an inner journey. And as I walked with my arms out in either direction, I suddenly saw a very terrifying, threatening, attacking black bird over on my left. And I pushed it away, and I promptly fell off the tightrope in my inner scene. And I got back up again with my arms out for balance, so we have to balance. And I saw a beautiful shining white bird on my right side. And I wanted to take hold of it and pet it because I love animals and birds and creatures. And so I grabbed it and I fell off. And I got back on the tightrope. And my daughter Sheila said, "What's this got to do with my problem, Mother?" And I said, "I have no idea." So she said, well, ask, as only a daughter or a son can. Thoroughly irritated that Mother's taking so long. And I said, all right. And then it came to me so clearly that this is what we do all day, every day. We try to push away the things we don't like, and we try to grab the things we like. So desires are not just what you want, they're what you don't want. And I'm a perfect example for that. Not wanting to say anything, not wanting to talk, not wanting to write books, not wanting to be out there. That's out of balance, just as much as the people who say, look, here I am, I'm so wonderful. It's the reverse ego trip, but it's ego. We're still too concerned with what we want and we don't want. So the black and white birds gave us a wonderful lesson. And then the next thing that came was, just be content to walk on the tightrope, because our lives are all tightropes. We can fall off on either side so easily. We do all day long. And be willing to hold out our hands on either side and let the black bird settle or the white bird settle, knowing that that's what we need to teach us. Because very often I've discovered that the things that we don't like in life teach us a great deal more than the times when we're blissfully happy. To remember that life is a tightrope, and Baba's message in his teaching is a tightrope provided by him. And that's why we have to stay so close to his message, wherever we may be. Sorry, but we're getting a bell. I hope that Swami wanted me to talk this much and not have questions. But I think we all know how to apply his teachings. But let us not say, I can only be spiritual if I'm not in the middle of the materialistic world, because that's not what's going to work in this Kali Yuga. Saram.
And they have to sing it from them, okay? So this I'll give it.